The enemy was strong. The walls were high. But God had a plan that defied all logic. Joshua, chosen to lead after Moses, faced his first great test, Jericho. No weapons, no Ziga, just obedience. What followed was a miracle. This is the story of a battle won not by might, but by faith.
For 40 years, the Israelites wandered the wilderness, waiting for the promise of God to be fulfilled. Their leader, Moses, had guided them through deserts, miracles, and trials. But now, his journey had come to an end. Before his final breath, he called for Joshua, a young warrior full of faith and courage. With his hands raised in blessing, Moses declared, "Be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God goes with you." And just like that, the mantle of leadership was passed. Joshua stood before the people, now entrusted with the mission Moses had begun. The promised land lay ahead, but one massive obstacle stood in the way: Jericho. A city so heavily fortified, its walls were thought to be unbreakable. No army had ever conquered it. But God had a plan, one that would test Joshua's faith like never before. As Joshua gazed upon the towering walls of Jericho, he knew the battle would not be easy. He gathered his soldiers, preparing for war, when suddenly a figure appeared before him. A man, clothed in radiant armor, holding a sword that gleamed in the sunlight. Joshua fell to his knees. "Are you for us, or for our enemies?" he asked. The figure's answer was simple, yet powerful. "Neither. I am the commander of the Lord's army." Joshua immediately understood this was no ordinary warrior. This was an angel of the Lord, sent to deliver God's strategy for victory. And the strategy? It was not one of siege weapons, battering rams, or brute force. No, it was something far greater, something that defied human logic. The Lord spoke to Joshua, saying, "March around the city once a day for 6 days. On the 7th day, march 7 times. Then blow the trumpets and shout, and the walls will fall." The plan seemed impossible. How could a city as strong as Jericho be brought down by marching and trumpets? But Joshua did not question. He did not hesitate. He believed. With unwavering faith, Joshua relayed God's instructions to the people. And so, the Israelites prepared not with swords, but with obedience. Day 1. As the sun rose, the army lined up. Priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant led the way, followed by warriors and people of Israel. They marched in silence, no words, no battle cries, just the steady sound of their footsteps circling the city walls. Inside Jericho, the Canaanite soldiers watched from above, laughing. What are they doing? Are they afraid to fight? But the Israelites did not stop. Day 2. Again, they marched. The people inside the city mocked them. These fools think they can conquer Jericho by walking around? But the Israelites did not respond. They held their faith. Day 3, Day 4, Day 5, Day 6. The people of Jericho grew uneasy. Something about this silent march felt different. A city that had once mocked now watched in fear. Then came the 7th day, the day that would change history. As the sun rose, Joshua gathered his people. "Today, we will march 7 times. And when the priests blow the trumpets, we will shout with all our strength." The first lap around the city, silence. The second, the third, the fourth, anticipation built with each step. The Canaanites on the walls gripped their weapons, confused and nervous. What was about to happen? The 5th, the 6th lap, and then the final march began. The Israelites reached the end of their 7th lap, and then the moment came. With one powerful breath, the priests blew their trumpets, a long, piercing sound that echoed across the land, and in unison, the entire nation of Israel raised their voices in a mighty battle cry. And then the earth shook. A deafening roar filled the air. The mighty walls of Jericho, walls that had stood for generations, began to crack. Then, crash! The walls came crumbling down. Not by swords, not by human power, but by the supernatural hand of God.
Dust and rubble filled the streets. The people of Jericho screamed in terror as their great city fell before their eyes. The path was now clear, and Joshua and his army charged forward. In one swift victory, Israel took the city just as God had promised. Joshua had trusted in God's plan, And because of his obedience, Israel claimed their first victory in the Promised Land. But this was not just a story of battle, it was a story of faith. A reminder that when God gives a promise, nothing can stand in the way. No wall is too high. No obstacle is too great. When God speaks, all he asks is that we believe and obey. If you had been there, would you have trusted God's plan? Would you have believed that victory could come through faith and obedience alone? If you believe in the power of faith, comment yes below, and don't forget to share this video to inspire others to trust in God's promises.